It's a concept, all right? And in this topic, we really have to know a lot about concepts. Right, now materialism is an ontological understanding. Materialism is a way in which to describe a particular set of theories or a particular set of ideas about the nature of society. What is society? Now, society, different sociologists have different views about what society is. Some people suggest that society constrains us, makes us behave in the way we do, like Durkheim. You've done suicide with Durkheim, haven't you? You commit suicide because society makes you or stops you committing suicide. Society exists externally to us and has pressure. All right, so that's an ontological assumption. Others say, no, society is how we perceive it. The Thomas theorem. Things are real and we behave as things are real in terms of our perception of it. Society is constructed. That's a different ontological assumption. There's another ontological assumption, is who we are, what we believe, what we do, is determined, is it created by the nature of production. Therefore, if production changes in the society, it will change the rest of society. So I remember in the class I talked about materialism made up in terms of Marxism, in terms of the technological base, i.e. how things were made, and the relationships to that base, which determines everything else. Now, that is a materialist explanation, right? Production. And I then said, not all materialists are Marxists. The key thing about materialism is that matter matters. You can explain things simply by technology. Technology can change, it will change everything else. You can explain things about changing biological makeup. You can change things in terms of something which is matter. It doesn't have to be caused by class divisions. It doesn't have to be caused by exploitation. You're simply explaining things in terms of matter. All right, technological change. You can have technological changes who are certainly not Marxists. They simply things change because technology changes. Marx does something different. Marx says the technology changes the relationships which change elsewhere. All right? So not all materialists are Marxists. It's the way you explain things. They explain things in terms of something tangible, like, for example, population changes. You could talk about technological changes. Lots of different things change, which are not ideas, they are matter. Right? So be careful, not all materialists are Marxists. But most Marxists are materialists. But Marxism itself has lots of room for ideas. So they're not complete materialists, right? Good. Happy? Any more questions on that before we move on? You're happy with that?
Yeah,
Vote reduction. Sklare is a Marxist.
Oh, is that?
Yeah. He is.
Oh, he is.
Sklare is absolutely.
Why is it called?
Because he's. No, let's go back over Sklare. We all came to my lectures, didn't you? Most of you came to my lectures. I introduced you to Sklare. What was the driver of capitalism? Yes, the driver is the class driver. Why is that class driving? Because technology has changed. It's changed the relationships, it's changed society. Right? Sklare is absolutely a Marxist. Right? No question. It's a Marxist explanation of globalization. You explain it not in terms of ideas and identity, you explain it in terms of the need for introducing porous borders, because societies can't exist by themselves, they need to have this trade, right? Well done. Happy with materialism then, all right? Remember, not all materialists are Marxists. Most Marxists will have some very materialist explanations, but they'll also have some other ones as well. Ideas can change, and ideas, of course, will change through technology too. So Castells is a materialist. Castells says that ICTs change the world, right? Yeah, good. The next one was, what was the next question you had? The next concept you asked me to do? Materialism, which one? MNs, all right. These are really not concepts but labels, really. Transnational companies, multinational companies, and international companies, right? Or transnational arrangements, international arrangements, or, right? Now, look, the word trans means over. Trans, over. So again, you can have a link between, you can make a flyover. The flyover is transcending other roads, right? It's over it. So the idea of a transnational society generally means that the state or organizations within that are under the state. They are unimportant. The state is, the transnational society is more important. It's over. The transnational class is more important than the individual classes in the society. The transnational class, they have interests of their own. Transnational. It's above nation. Now let's talk about transnational company. A transnational company, therefore, has no particular base in any particular society. Now, here is a debate, because most companies labelled transnational do have a base in one country, and that's why there's criticisms of it. But they operate in terms of, they make things in multiple different places. So, for example, Acer machines used to be made in Indonesia and in Malaysia and in Singapore. They weren't just made in one place. They were trans. The company Google has people, Google recruit people on a transnational basis, not just local, right? So they really are transnational. They're usually dominated by transnational classes. They have a class of people who dominate these people who are actually above nation, right? They might live in one place, but they might live in 3 or 4 different places, and they'll meet at Davos or other places. Transnational, above nation. It means they have more power than individual nation states, transnational companies. Multinational companies will have multinational places where they operate, or where they recruit, or where they sell. MMCs are generally what was discussed up until about 1990. MMCs are still discussed, but what's beginning to happen is that everybody's using the label transnational. But it's used particularly in sociology of globalization, to explain the lack of power of the nation state, the increasing power of those companies to make decisions, and the powerlessness of the individual because of transnationalism. All right? Now, the independent, international, is what I suggested this morning. International, it's assuming that individual states, individuals have equal power. International, the international relations, all right? International. So you can have international companies. International companies can trade internationally, they can operate internationally, they can sell internationally, but they might not do all of them. All right? So transnational companies, generally we're using this, transnational corporations, we're usually using this concept in a conflict model, in a Marxist model. Generally we're using this. All right? The final one we talked about was what? What was the last one? Interpretation and interconnectedness, yes? Interpenetration. Now, this morning I gave you the idea of porous. Porous, open, lets things in, all right? So if I say an umbrella is porous, it's letting the rain in. If I say a state is porous, say the Singapore state is porous, what is the state letting in? What is the Singapore state letting in? Yes, it can come in and go out. Yes, it's not like, yes, it can come in, but what are they letting in and going out? What are they letting in and going out? Capital. Capital flows, migration flows, ideas flow. The state's borders are porous. Right? The state's borders. So again, how porous are they? Again, this is a big debate. But in globalization, we assume the state is more porous. Now let's look at the word penetrate. To penetrate something is to come in, into penetration. So we're talking growing into penetration. But we're talking about growing into penetration in the sense of much more structure. The idea that we're not just flowing in and out, we're penetrating. It's the idea of actually becoming much more sort of solidified. The ideas and practices of penetrating firms. People come and work here for long periods. It's much, much stronger than simply being porous. Interpenetration, there's growing interpenetration. So the practices, firms, and etc. are coming into each other's states and connecting, all right? Interconnectedness is simply linking, all right? So interpenetration, all right? Fine. Now, please, if you're doing a concept, remember what you do. You say what it is, you say what it's not. A multinational company, a transnational company is not an international company. Right. Right. First you put it in its domain. Globalization is a process of social change. Then say, well, it's not. The globalization is not the same as internationalization. Then you can suggest something which is, and there's an opportunity to say there's different approaches to use of these concepts. And this morning I said never say globalization is. Except globalization is a process of social change. Because there's always debate. Right, now, here we're coming in. Are you all ready for a new concept now? Yes? This is new. This is new, right? The idea of a nation state. It's got two aspects, nation and state. So can I see if you can do something for me? Can you shut your eyes and say, can you imagine a nation state now, all right? Shut your eyes. Shut your eyes. What, if I say, what is a nation state? What do you see? Open your eyes. All right, tell me, what's a nation state? In your mind, what did you envisage? What did you see when I say the word nation state? What? You saw one. You saw one small area. Surprise, surprise, you saw one small area. Are you Singaporean? Yeah, exactly. The nation state. Yes, it's small. You see it. You see it in terms of boundaries. Jen, what did you see? I say nation state. What did you see?